proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got a full studio here today. We've got Bob Savage, as always.
Where's all your cameras?
All my cameras are behind you. There they are.
Oh, right. Okay, all right. The wide angle.
Yep. And we've got Kevin Wilson here in studio as well.
Hello.
So
Radio IMAX.
Yep, yeah. Radio IMAX. There you go. And speaking of cameras, for those of you listening to the radio, you're like, why are there cameras in there? We do live stream the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Periscope. So if for some reason you can't get access to the radio while we're live and later you want to go follow up on the show, you can catch the replay there. Or if for some reason you're working in a basement and the radio waves don't work there, you can stream the show there and you can still participate. You can comment on the live feeds, ask us questions, say hello, all that good stuff. And I read it throughout the show. And if you ask a question on topic, maybe we'll read it on air.
Plus, we have a podcast, too.
Yeah, and there's a podcast.
Yep. You can go to WYSL1040.com, download them there, or any podcasting app, and you'll be able to see us in your feed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are literally all of the places.
Yes, widely available.
Yeah.
If you can't get us, you're just not trying.
Yeah. And not just that, we're on 9 frequencies now, all across.
Depending on where you are. That's right.
Yep. So, but if you're listening or maybe not listening and you wish you were listening, how do we reach those people? I'm not sure. But
as far as the 9 signals go, I'm trying to pick a place in my mind's eye here. I'm thinking probably somewhere around Watkins Glen or someplace like that. You could get all 9.
All 9. Really? You think so? Wow. So just like you hit seek on your radio and all you hear is us. That's it. It's like all throughout the day. That's all you hear is Radio Free New York, which is an awesome thing. It's great.
It's that Will Smith movie where he's all alone in New York with the dog.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He goes out on the pier every day and he says, we're broadcasting on all AM frequencies.
Yep, here
Which would be a good trick.
Yep. So yesterday we kind of talked about the format as to how we're going to run some of the shows. Those of you who might have missed it, I'm just going to give you a recap. Mondays, we're going to talk about statewide issues, current news, that sort of thing, because there's always something going on Monday. You know, they try to, hide stuff in the end of the week. It doesn't pop up till Monday. So that's what we'll do. Tuesdays are going to be our Talk of the Town, which is Kevin's going to be in here joining us. He's going to talk about issues that are local, but local to you even if you're not here, because chances are if it's happening here, it's probably happening in your town too. Wednesdays are going to be White House Wednesdays, which we do have a presidential candidate coming on the show tomorrow. So we'll have lots of questions for that person. Thursdays are whatever we missed. Maybe it didn't make it, through one of the interviews, or it kind of bled over. We'll pick up that on Thursdays. And then Fridays, I've dubbed Fake News Fridays, which we're going to have our normal content, but then Kevin's going to bring in some news articles for us, and Bob and I and those of you listening are going to try to guess, is it fake news or not?
Ooh, I have a fake news theme.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I do.
Awesome. I can't wait. Yeah, let's see if you can.
Here it goes like this. Fake news! There you go.
I love it. So that's what's going on. So Kevin, why don't you tell us what Talk of the Town is going to be about today?
Right. So just to introduce the topic again, I think it's really important to pay attention to what's going on with your local government. And I think every time I've subbed in for you as a host, I try to talk about local issues just a little bit because that's my big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to make this something that's relatable to everyone. As you kind of mentioned, I'm going to bring up a Rochester issue today, but it's something that's probably happening in your town too. And so I know about this issue because I'm really involved in neighborhood organizations. That's what I do in my free time in the evenings because I'm a glutton for punishment. I like to go to neighborhood meetings, find out what's going on, and in an optimistic sense, try to figure out how I can better the community, often without government, because I like to, as corny as it sounds, be the change that I want to see in the community, right? I want to see neighborhood organizations improving their community without needing to rely on the local government or the state government to do it. But me being involved in this stuff has meant that I get to go to like neighborhood presidents meetings in the city of Rochester. And something that the city of Rochester Neighborhood Service Center is very, very excited about is a new business permit that is going to be foisted on the mostly convenience stores of the city of Rochester. This new business permit, which is not yet on the website for the city of Rochester, is going to start being enforced in January. They're going to start doing it, and it's a business permit for tobacco use. Now, a couple things to keep in mind with the tobacco use permit is the reason why they say they're doing this in public is that, it's, of course, for the kids. It's for the kids.
Where have I heard that before? Yeah. So they haven't used that one before, have
Last
they?
refuge is scoundrels.
I think.
You know, when they pull the kids out, you know they're up to something.
So they want to make sure, ostensibly, that the businesses who are selling tobacco products are doing so properly and are inspected by the city of Rochester so that they are only selling tobacco products to people who are now 21 and up, right?
Yep. 21. Yep.
So any tobacco products, including e-cigarette and vaping products, those are all going to be regulated by the city of Rochester. If you are selling those products starting next year, you will need to have a business permit for that. Unless, of course, you have another type of business permit, like an entertainment license, in which case you don't need one.
So entertainment and other things are going to be exempt.
Right. So you don't need a business permit. And you might ask, if you are doing this to protect the kids from, tobacco, why would they exempt people who have other types of permits?
Yeah, well, I think we see this all across the state and even the country, right? Where government, whether it's local, statewide, or federal, decides that they know better than the general population. They know better than you. They know better than your personal decisions. And it's their job to step in for you, to be your knight in shining armor. That's what government says they're going to be, to protect you against yourself. And the way that they're going to do that is always with some sort of fee or license, which is always like 99% of the time, a license or a permit really just means another tax that you're paying to the government. I don't know if you know this or not. Is there any sort of safety program that they have to grow through to get certified in this is how to be safer with the products you sell? Is there any education on how to keep the people in your store safe while they're perusing your products? I'm assuming not. There's no training.
Not that I'm aware of. And in fact, this permit is redundant because in New York State, you already need a permit to sell tobacco products. You need a state permit. I think you talked about that on a show last week about needing that, right?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Yep.
So you already need that. There's no program because it's not about that. It's not about restricting tobacco sales. What it's actually about is, well, yes, it's about raking in a little bit of money, get some fees from it.
Sure.
But B, the biggest thing is they want to be able to control you. And that's what's that's in the private meetings, in the meetings at like the Neighborhood Presidents Association, things like that. That's really what this is about. The city of Rochester has tried for a very long time to be able to find ways to shut down convenience stores. Yeah. A lot of neighbors, or neighborhood associations complain that convenience stores are a blight on their neighborhood, and they want to find a way to shut them down. City of Rochester has tried this several times in the past by requiring a convenience store license or requiring a license where if you sell tobacco, alcohol, and lottery tickets, 2 out of 3, you need a special license for that. but they've gotten shut down in court time and time again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a repetitive issue that I see coming up constantly, where the market says people want a product, and a minority of people get together and say, we don't like that product, let's use government to shut it down. So we're going to talk about a couple ways they've tried to do this when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hi, Bob Savage here for the WYSL station. So times are tight, and you've got to watch every penny. How to get maximum advertising impact without shelling out maximum bucks? Well, there's print media. Of course, there's a reason why it's called the incredible shrinking daily paper. Then there are those penny savers and shoppers, 98% of which hit the recycling bin without ever being opened. And are you really looking for customers who are shopping for used tires and playpens? You could try cable TV, 500 channels, 12 viewers per channel. Or how about hiring some guy in a day-glow orange wig to dance holding up your sign down at the corner? If you want real advertising impact with a quality message for savvy consumers who actually have money to spend, WYSL has a giant 20,000-watt signal and 2 FM channels at 92.1 and 95.5, covering 1.4 million people all over Rochester and the region, literally all the way to Pennsylvania. Get results, save time and money. Call us, get on board, and start growing for 2020. 346-3000 or WYSL1040.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech
Last spot.
interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, we're back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson here, Bob Savage. We're talking about business licenses. The one we're talking about specifically is being implemented in the city of Rochester. But cities all across New York and all across the nation do this exact sort of thing time and time again, where people decide that they don't like something and they look to government to eliminate it instead of looking to the market. You know, if people weren't purchasing a product, they would simply go out of business. But when that product is successful, it's marketed right, or maybe not even marketed at all. I mean, you know, these convenience stores have been attacked by the city and the neighborhood groups for a long time. And one of the ways that they started their campaign against them, I don't know how many people know this, is they simply changed the name of what they called them. So a convenience store, when they wanted to go on the attack, they started calling them corner stores. Why do they do that? Well, a lot of people have a negative connotation with the corner. They think of drug dealers, like all this other stuff, sex workers, the whole everything. So one of the things that you see people do is they start changing language to turn public perception. And even with that campaign, that hasn't been effective because people live in these neighborhoods. They need access to food and other sorts of things.
Shop there, pick up your soda or beer or whatever,
or milk or bread, even,
exactly.
Like the basics. And especially in the city of Rochester, where I forget what the ownership of a vehicle is. It's like 42 or 48% of the city population doesn't own a vehicle in Rochester.
Yeah. So a huge population relies on these stores for their primary source of food a lot of times, which I know is considered a problem, but a lot of these stores do carry vegetables and regular grocery stuffs in them, and so they're an essential part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see this sort of thing, and then you see groups of people get together and they think, wow, I don't like this store, or I don't like this thing. How do I get rid of it? Well, their go-to is what? Government. Like, who's better at crushing jobs and businesses than government?
The best.
Yeah, they are the best at it. I definitely believe that. And they've tried multiple things. Some that have been ruled in court as unconstitutional, like the point system that the city had.
Which they still have. They just changed it.
Yeah, well, they basically said, oh, we got in trouble with court. We're going to tweak it and try to keep getting away with this. I believe the part that was ruled unconstitutional in court is... Actually, let me explain the point system for those who might not know what that is. So the way the point system works is if you have a business in the city, and it could be even a rental property, it doesn't have to be a convenience store or another type of business, and crime happens at or near the vicinity of it, your property starts being assessed points. And then at some point you hit an arbitrary point number, because government likes arbitrary numbers. Yep. And that is enough. You don't get your business license. You can no longer rent out this facility, whole sort of, various punishments essentially. Yeah.
So and you have to go through like a process to try to fix the problem first. So I'll say that you have to go meet with one of the neighborhood service center quadrant directors and see if you can mitigate the problem. Yeah. And then they'll kick you out. But I mean, if it's a problem with like a tenant that you can't control, it's like, all right, what do you do? Yeah. Or with what happens with the convenience stores is it's often like just people who hang out in the neighborhood and they're doing something bad outside of your store. You can't really do anything about it, but you are punished for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was given, I ran a city council campaign a couple of years ago, spoke with people who this law had been used against, and their stories were pretty upsetting. I mean, I had one convenience store that said, I don't call the cops when somebody steals something because those points get assessed against my property. It's like, so that I get shut down by the city for crime. Or he had a guy peeing on the side of his building and he was assessed points for that when the police showed up, like things like that. I had a landlord who said their house was vacant and people were selling drugs off the porch. So the police showed up. They weren't even tenants. They were just people that knew that the house was vacant. They were between trying to find renters. They were assessed points on that. It happened to be a situation where the previous tenants were very problematic. They couldn't get the tenants kicked out or evicted, so the tenants kept racking up points.
Which is going to be even harder now.
Yeah, which is going to be even harder now. And what ended up happening was those people selling drugs that weren't even tenants off of the front porch of this property was the final thing. They weren't allowed to rent the house anymore. So now a house just sits vacant in the neighborhood. So those are some of the things that came up.
That doesn't attract crime at all.
No. So those were issues with that system that ultimately was ruled as unconstitutional because they were essentially punishing people for crimes that other people were committing outside of their control. It's a bad system.
No, it's a bad system. And the new business permit for tobacco use is essentially the same thing, right? They're trying to take convenience stores and try to have something else that they can take away from them, which requires even less oversight than the point system, right? Like the point system, you have to name specific things. With the tobacco permit, they could just not renew it. And that's the reason why, like, if you already have an entertainment permit or another type of permit, you don't need a tobacco permit because they already have something they can take away from you. They don't need this additional thing.
Yeah. It's not about safety. It's 100% about control. Do we have an idea of what this is going to cost to get this permit?
I left my paper for that at home. It's only like I think it's like a couple $100 or something. It's not terribly expensive, but it's just another thing. You know, as a small business owner, it's just like one thing after another. They've got to get their state permit for that. They've got to get their,
So let's talk about that though. Let's talk about especially City of Rochester and other metro centers have fairly large pockets of poverty. Right. And you live in one of these, impoverished areas. You decide that you want to step out of poverty. You're going to start a small business. There's a property available right on your street. Great, because you don't have a car. You want to open up. And maybe you like vape products. Maybe that is your thing.
Neighborhood's not going to like that.
Neighborhoods, maybe
the customers are going to like that.
Whether or not, the association, which is made up of a very small percentage of the people that live there, like it or not, if the neighborhood likes it, it's going to stay in business.
Yeah.
Right. That if there's a product there that people want to buy, it's going to stay in business. So you go to do this and you have enough money to buy inventory. You have enough money to rent the storefront. Oh, but now there's a state license that you have to buy. There is a city license that you have to buy. There's various permits that you have to pay for, all in the name of safety that don't change the product that you're delivering, doesn't change how you're delivering that product. They're just barriers to entry that keep poor people poor.
Yeah. Shuts down entrepreneurship. This is what keeps people in poverty.
Yeah. And ironically, the people leading this charge are constantly the people saying they're doing the most to uplift the poor.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Well, as long as government's doing that uplifting, they can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah, and we talk about this with licensing all the time. There's a license to braid hair. There's a license to walk dogs. Why is the government involved in this whatsoever?
City requires several different types of license: restaurants, bars, automobile service facilities, salons, including hairdressers, barbershops, appearance enhancement, tattoo parlors, and body piercing. And there's also permits and licenses for entertainment, amusement, secondhand dealer, and pawnbrokers. Yeah. So those are all the ones listed in Rochester, plus the tobacco one, which is not on their website yet.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of other licenses and permits that you're required to get too. License for your dog, alarm system, any changes you want to make. Actually, it's crazy. If you want to update an outlet in your house, you're supposed to get a permit from the city. Even if you have a licensed electrician, you're still supposed to pay the city $80 for a permit to update a faulty outlet. Guess who's not doing that? Nobody's doing that. Literally nobody's doing that. It's a waste of law, waste of legislation. It's not happening. Other things in your life, marriage licenses. You need to get a license to get married. And they don't require, like, a lot of people used to justify this saying, well, you know why? Because marriage licenses require a blood type, and then if you can be a donor for each other. Like, these goofy excuses for law. That's not even the case anymore. When my wife and I got our marriage license, there was no blood test or anything. It was just a fee to the city.
Yeah. I remember going in, you just pay your fee. They ask what you want your names to be, if you're going to change them, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So they have taxed everything, including marriage at this point. I mean,
tax it all.
Tax everything.
Yeah. And, I just, getting back to the business permits for 1 second, because what I worry about with these types of things, and the reason why this is happening is I worry that it's going to be abused. Right. And, you and I were talking before the show, like in the neighborhood president's meeting in November, one of the ones I attended, there's a city official who got up and told a story about how a city council member who wasn't named went into a convenience store, felt they got bad customer service, and then threatened the convenience store with pulling their tobacco permit or not letting their tobacco permit be issued when that went into effect next year.
Yeah. 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 And that's
and
a
they told
total
that as a
abuse
positive
of power.
story.
Yeah.
And like people were excited about that. I'm like, no, that's horrible. Why would you be excited about that?
It's a total abuse of power. And I guarantee you, the people sitting in that room, if the person discussing doing that was on the different side of the political spectrum from them, somebody they disagreed with, they'd be in outrage.
Yeah.
They would be in outrage over it and call it an abuse of power. All right, guys, we're going to take a break here on Radio Free New York. When we come back, we're going to talk about, is Amazon coming to New York City anyways? It's a hot topic. We'll talk about it more on Radio Free New York.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. For tonight, a few flurries and snow showers, maybe a little coating in spots, cold in the low 20s. On Wednesday, fairly quiet weather until the afternoon. Could be a little burst of snow as another Arctic front moves through. That'll kick up the wind, keep the chill going. Could be some minor accumulations off of the lakes into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
This is Dom Geneva, owner of Genesee Valley Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Genesee Valley Ford in Avon, your no-nonsense car dealer. Looking for a good used car? You know what's typical. Lots of hype in the ads, car lots with tons of cars you have to pick through like produce from yesterday's flea market, no guarantee of quality, and commission salespeople trying to make you pay more. But it doesn't have to be that way. At Genesee Valley, we're your no-nonsense used car dealer too. We take pride in our used cars and trucks just the same as our new. You never have to pick over lesser quality cars and trucks because we won't offer them. And what's more important, our non-commissioned salespeople will help you get into the right vehicle for you at the right payment for your family. Genesee Valley Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Genesee Valley Ford, your no-nonsense used car dealer.
Genesee Valley.
Exit 10, Route 390 in Avon.
GeneseeValley.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Imani, time for school, baby. Imani, time for school. Imani, it's time.
A different couch, a different floor, the backseat of a car. Over 2,000 Rochester school-aged children are homeless, but now there is hope. The Open Door Mission Cold Water House for moms and their children. OpenDoorMission.com/doves.
I need an open mind, a strong cup of joe, to pay my bills, a sweet new ride, some good advice, a loan that's fast, a bank I can trust.
Whether you need to buy a coffee, pay a bill, or expand your business, Tompkins Bank of Castile has the mobile tools you need to make it easy. And since we're local, you can depend on us to treat you like friends and to support the community where you live. Tompkins Bank of Castile, your local, mobile, remarkable community bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, loan subject to credit approval.
The Rochester Lancers are home December 27th and 28th and January 3rd and 4th. Celebrate the holidays with your Lancers. Bring your team or group. It's a party, not a game. 2 Lancer Mania weekends back to back. December 27th and 28th and January 3rd and 4th. Bring the whole family. Live music, bounce house, Lancer dancers, and post-game autographs with the team. Get your tickets at ourlancers.com. Lancer Mania is running wild. ourlancers.com.
Bob Savage here for Avon Gun. Open 7 days a week. Avon Gun's your locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. It's Christmas. Time to get your favorite sportsman or woman something very special. Avon Gun in the village of Avon, 259 East Main Street.
This is Dom. Genesee Valley Ford in Avon, your no-nonsense car dealer. Whether you buy a car from me or not, you need to know you can get free stuff included in your price or just get a better price. Why do I tell you this? Because an educated consumer is my best customer.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And we're just wrapping up the kind of local discussion about business licensing and how when legislators pass this, they always say it's for safety, but it never actually addresses safety. You know, I mean, that's what it comes down for. Even if you were like a diehard fan of big government and centralized government control, and you think that the government's job is to make everybody safe, these licenses and laws never actually do that. So you should be like really, really angry and upset because your elected officials are not doing anything that you're asking them to do.
No, and guarantee there's something like this in your town, no matter where you are, whether you're listening in New York, Pennsylvania, or outside of that, there's something like this in your town. Look it up. Chances are it's not serving much other purpose other than to collect some fees and to control businesses. That's it.
Absolutely. And so I guess you could say, if I were to look from somebody else's perspective, if you were a big government advocate and you're like, yes, I want the government to have as much money as they can get, and I want to raise taxes because we're just not taxed enough, then maybe you'd be okay with it. Because that's basically what's happening. It's just a way to raise taxes without, setting a new tax per se, something called a tax. But that's all it is. So I guess those people could be happy, but everybody else.
If you're one of those people listening to this show, keep listening.
Yep. We're going to try to change your point of view. And I do want to give a shout out to the people who are listening on the live stream right now as well. I see Eric is in here. Eric actually posted a question or wants to change the direction of the topic. We'll see, Eric. We'll see if we have time at the end of the show to discuss the topic you want to talk about. And then I want to say hi to Nate as well. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. Just so you know, I see there's a bunch of other people here in the live stream, but if you don't comment, I can't actually see your name, so I can't say hi to you. So we're going to talk about Amazon because why not, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of articles circling around the internet, stuff on social media, people like AOC jumping in and saying, hey, look, Amazon's coming to New York anyways. And
didn't need those subsidies.
Yeah.
What's she going to do to queer it this time?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, yes, Amazon is opening a facility in New York City. However, it is not going to be the same facility. And there's a few things to talk about here. I think we'll talk about the differences first, and then we'll talk about subsidies and just how they don't work. So the difference is this is not the same facility. So those who are out there saying, oh, this is the same thing, it's not. The original deal with subsidies was going to be a 4 million square foot facility, supposedly 25,000 jobs. We're going to talk about how nobody ever meets their milestones with the subsidies involved. But this facility is going to be a 300,000 square foot facility, and it's going to be for 1,500 jobs. And I believe those jobs already exist. Do you know if those jobs already exist? I don't think they're new jobs.
I understood it. A lot of it was going to be transfers. And then the other difference, too, is that it's going to be in a different neighborhood. So this is the 1,500 jobs will be in Manhattan, and the 25,000 jobs are going to be out in Queens.
Yeah. Yep. So different location, but still New York City.
Yeah.
You know, especially for those of us who don't understand New York City, us upstaters, you know, we just kind of like glob it all into one thing. But it's a different place in New York.
The downstate folks.
It is important to them. Absolutely. To us, we're like, it's New York
It's all
City.
New York, right?
Yeah. And to everybody outside of New York, all of New York State is New York City. So, you know.
Well, and then in New York City, like, oh, you're all upstate, right? It's all farms up there in Rochester?
Yep. Farms and, 10 miles between each
it's all
home.
the same.
So,
and upstate's anything north of Yonkers.
Yeah. It was 126th Street, I think, is the one. I think north of 126th Street is upstate New York.
I got my friend in Washington Heights. It's upstate, basically.
Yeah. So what's going on here is Amazon is essentially, they're opening a facility for jobs. It sounds like they already have. Maybe there'll be some new ones. I don't know. But the key point here is there won't be any tax benefits. There won't be any subsidies. If you've been listening to the show for a while or know me, you know I am very much opposed to subsidies, tax breaks, the whole everything. I see it the same as, when the cable company looks at their customer who's been with them for 20 years and goes, yep, we're upping your rates. You're going to pay the highest possible price. Oh, hey, new person coming in. We're going to give you like 90% off, and just keep canceling your service and coming back. That's just what government's doing with subsidies and tax breaks. But they're doing it to a much worse effect, because when Spectrum or Frontier or whoever, insert big name brand here, who lures people in at a low introductory rate, they're still profitable. They're not losing money. Eventually, they're just moving you up to the same profit margin as everybody else. But when government does this, government, in case any of you haven't noticed, if you look at our last maybe 10 budgets at least, we've been running a deficit, guys. Like, New York State is not profitable, and government's not supposed to be profitable. But if you wanted to take that approach, that's certainly not what's been happening.
Yeah, at least stand to not lose money. That's all I'm asking. They don't need to make money. Just don't lose. Don't be $6 billion in the hole like New York State.
Yeah. So that's a big issue, So of course people like AOC, and here's the thing. She's not totally wrong in this. Like, she's like, hey, look, Amazon came to New York anyways with no government money. Stop paying the rich when you should be helping the poor. And she's not right, but she's not wrong. Like,
no, it's a fair critique to say, like, we shouldn't be subsidizing these massive companies to move into cities. Yeah. They usually don't need it. And I know people have made the case in New York State, you need it. But it seems like you could solve that problem by fixing the underlying issues with New York State tax and fee and regulatory culture.
Yeah.
We don't need to bribe them to come in then.
Yeah. No, bribing companies to come to New York State. And here's the thing. Here's what happens like every single time, or almost every single time. We dangle this carrot in front of a business. They come in with a promise to make all these jobs. We spend an obscene amount of taxpayer money either building out the project for them or giving it to them in subsidies or tax breaks or whatever. Then what happens is when all that runs out, the company goes away and they just go to the next city, the next town, the next state who's offering that. And they just keep hopping around. Meanwhile, we're left holding the bag on now a vacant property that there is no tax being paid on. That's,
it's like the market that was in out of Cleveland that operated in College Town for like 8 months. $750,000.
Yeah. And the thing is, we never, as the taxpayer, never as government, see a net return on this. Like, I have yet to see a single politician, and maybe there's one. Maybe I've missed it.
Yeah, if you find one, please send it to us.
Yes, call into the show, 585-346-3000, or send a comment in on Facebook or YouTube. If you know of any government subsidy program that not only, like, where the people actually held up their part of the deal, and at the end of the day, we didn't get left holding the bag.
Yeah, right. Is there any like return on investment for these things?
I think there's none. I've seen zero evidence.
I've had people tell me that there is, but I haven't been able to see it.
Yeah, I've seen zero evidence. And I tell you what, if they were actually successful, Cuomo would be dancing all over the media. Any elected official would be, hey, look, we've got one, guys. Look, we've got one. And that's never the case. They show up, they do this huge media press release in the very beginning when nothing has been done except for taxpayer money has been spent, and say how successful it is. There's going to be all these jobs, this and that. And then months and months later, the reports are, we didn't get any of those jobs. Maybe we got like 8 of them. Or like the most recent article that like a $2 million loss isn't so bad compared to the other ones we've had so far. You know, it's pretty bad. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Human trafficking is when someone is being forced, tricked, or coerced to engage in a sex trade or forced labor. If you're a kid and forced to sell sex, drugs, or work against your will, that's trafficking. You're not a criminal, and there is help available. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888 or text Be Free. Sponsored by the Livingston County Safe Harbors Human Trafficking Task Force.
Your business relies on computers and technology to
Last spot.
Unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and Kevin, I'm getting ready to make you angry.
Yeah, sure.
Which, you know, if you listen to the show, I guess there's a lot of things going on in New York that make the average person angry. But this one, I think, pokes at you a little bit harder than some of the other stuff. News is that Cuomo is not signing the e-scooter bill.
Yes.
And I don't know how much time is left. So
not a lot.
Not a lot.
So, well, okay, let's explain what the bill does, right? What this bill does is in New York State, it's not enforced very well, but it's illegal to have an e-scooter and it's illegal to have an e-bike too. So like you have these bikes with the electric assists, and they're really nice, especially if you're commuting in the city. You can get that boost. You don't get sweaty going up hills. Nice thing. Lots of people use them. They're technically illegal though. They were supposed to legalize that. The state legislature, the Assembly, and the Senate passed overwhelmingly this e-scooter bill. The city of Rochester has legislation ready to already get these in place and to allow ride-sharing companies to come in and have e-scooters and electric bikes, which, again, are currently illegal. Everyone's been waiting for this for a while. Andrew Cuomo's been sitting on the bill.
Yeah. And just to throw this out there, I mean, I got a chance to ride one of these for the first time. Actually, Kevin and I were in Czech Republic together.
Yeah.
The first time I rode on one.
Those are cool.
And they're great. So I mean, we're riding up this like steep, awful hill, and a couple other people in our group are just kind of like gently perusing along. And so we got a chance to ride them. I mean, they're pretty nice. It gives a little electric assist and the pedals.
You go 20 miles an hour up a hill. It's great.
Yeah. No, so these are cool.
Mr. Savage and I were out for a walk back during the summer, and we encountered a guy who was test riding one. He had just installed one of those motors on a conventional bike.
Yeah.
That little thing's like a rocket. He took off down the road.
Yep.
Yeah, they really move.
And they're a great alternative for transportation, right? Especially in the summertime. Like if you wanted to get out and get some exercise, maybe you couldn't make it all the way to work either on time or you just get too tired beforehand. Like it's a nice little bridge to that gap to give you that.
4 miles to work every day, and I would have loved an electric bike because I'd get there and I'd be sweaty, of course, in the summertime.
Oh yeah. I used to bike way back in the day when I worked at RIT, and that was it was almost 9 miles, and I was just disgusting when I showed up to work. I always had a separate set of clothes and all that. It was no good.
But anyway, why is King Andy?
So you would think that it would have something to do with what's their favorite thing besides the children?
Money.
Oh, well, what do they like to say? Yeah, so Cuomo's saying this is for your safety, which we all know is a load of crap. Yeah. It's not
people
true.
Get hurt on e-scooters sometimes.
Yep.
People get hurt on lots of things.
Yeah, and I've been so many places they have these. There's not a safety concern. So let's talk about what's more likely. What's more likely is Cuomo was on board until the bill sponsor, Jessica Ramos, who is also a Democrat, beat him up a little bit, dinged him on the New York Times over his push to double the threshold for the state minor political parties for election days.
The senator from Queens is a big advocate of the Working Families Party, and as we know, and we talked about last week, Andrew Cuomo is not a fan of them right now, and he's doing everything he can to
put them under.
Yeah.
Yep. He's trying to get rid of them. So the statement that she put gave to the New York Times is, I honestly have never understood why it is that electorally the governor cannot seem and act as interested as we are in having as many Democrats in the state legislature as possible. Now, she said this, basically opposing his change to minor parties, and the context isn't really great the way they put this, but essentially she's saying more voices makes it possible for more Democrats. That's her point of view on this. I feel differently. I think more voices would mean less Democrats, but that's just my opinion. So apparently, ever since that, there's a source in here who wasn't named. So we're just going to say there's a source that says in the paper apparently has validated that this person is very close to the situation, that the governor was on board until this happened, and now he's essentially pulled back and holding this because of that. So over a personal issue, essentially over a PR issue.
We'll post this the link to the New York Post article that we're referencing for this as well. This whole situation is so petty. And again, it has nothing to do with the actual policy of the e-bike and e-scooter bill. From what it sounds like, this is personal and this is political. And that's how so much of politics works. And frustrating beyond belief that we can't let a good law get passed to legalize something that I don't understand why it's illegal in the first place. But we can't get rid of that bad law making these things illegal because of this political nonsense.
And these are the sort of things that I truly believe are why laws should have expiration dates. Every law put on the books should have a maximum life, and it should be based on the term limits that cycle out. So essentially, say power changes every 4 years, a bill gets passed, great, it's good for 5 years. That way, if the people change their mind and they swap out their legislators, they swap out their representation, then the new people in there have the opportunity to renew it if that's really what the people want. But if the people don't, they don't even have to vote on it. It just goes away.
But Andrew, how are we going to renew so many laws every time?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Kevin. We could just have less laws.
Fewer laws.
Fewer
That's
laws.
what we have.
Yep. Smaller government, less laws, which to me is more freedom to you, more freedom to everybody. And that's not just freedom in the sense of a lot of people, well, America, that's where it's free. Freedom goes so much deeper than just that thought of, we're talking financial freedom, freedom to have your own independence, to make the choices you want, which government is essentially taking away from us every day. They're saying you can only buy the things that we say you can buy. You can only put the things in your body that we say you can put in your body. You can only do the things that we say you can. You can only use the things you purchase in the way we say you can. Like, all of those things infringe on your freedom. And it's just, I don't know. Every time I turn around, there's a new law trying to ban something or make something.
Oh yeah, they're
illegal.
banned. They ban everything. They ban sports betting. They ban stretch limos. They ban vaping stuff.
Yeah. And with this, you have something that could, in theory, help out with climate change, right? If you're a Democrat who's serious about wanting to get people out of their cars, or you don't have to be a Democrat, but if you want people to get out of cars and use different modes of transportation, this would help this.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We're holding it up for some reason.
Oh, we know. Well, we have a pretty good idea of what the reason is, and it's abuse of power. That's what it comes down to for me. I look at this as a blatant abuse of power, just like in the beginning of the show when we talked about, on the local topic of people sitting in government threatening to withhold business licensing because they either don't like a business or don't like the service they received at the business. Hey, I got news for you. If the customer service is that bad, people are going to leave.
Yeah,
we don't need.
It'll go away on its own. Unless they're committing actual force or fraud.
Yep.
You shouldn't be
violence towards others.
Yeah.
Aggression towards others. If there's actually a victim. If your change was miscounted, I'm sorry. That's a human error. That happens. Sort of thing. Total abuse of power, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so that's why at every level of government, and we talked about a state government issue, a local government issue. We didn't even touch any of the federal government issues. We need to kind of get the government out there because you're talking about having freedom to do things, right? Having freedom to open a business. There's so many restrictions on that again, it keeps people in poverty. It keeps people dependent on government. It's that old adage about the government breaking your legs and handing you a pair of crutches.
Yep.
And that's what it feels like in a lot of these situations. It's just like, oh, okay, like they're saying they're helping us, but instead of empowering people to go out and start their own business, to become independent, to be successful entrepreneurs, they're creating more and more barriers for the type of people that they claim to be helping.
Yeah. No, it's a big issue. So the really important question, Kevin, is have you chosen your e-bike yet, and what are you getting?
No, I haven't. I've been looking around at REI. They have them available in their online store, but I can't actually.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point. I went over there after our trip and checked, and I was like, I want one of these bikes, and they told me, oh, sorry, we don't carry them. We can't sell them. They're illegal. Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean the bicycle is illegal? What are you talking about?
Nope.
And
for your own safety, Andrew.
Yeah,
until the government says that it's safe.
Yeah, but I can go at unknown speeds on a motorized gasoline motorcycle, and that's perfectly safe. That's fine. Yeah, because
you got a license for that.
I paid my tax already. That's why. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back at it again tomorrow.